Hello and welcome to my channel, everybody. I'm Steph and this is Books with Steph. So a little while ago I came across the idea of a dark matter day on the 31st of October. And so I don't exactly know what this is going to entail yet. I believe it might include some lectures on what dark matter is, the physics behind it, what kind of findings we have and observations, and just generally I think it's supposed to be kind of a week or a day. I think though it's a week, I think it's the entire week surrounding the 31st of October in which more awareness, I guess, of dark matter is being created. And so, as I mentioned in one of my videos before, I'm actually an astrophysicist by training. And so as you can imagine, I got really excited about the idea of having a day for dark matter. It's not something that I personally worked on, but I just think it's something that is really fascinating, particularly also with this whole idea of a dark matter thing. And I think for some people it can seem like this mysterious thing that, you know, well, I mean, it is a mysterious thing. We still don't exactly know what it is, and we know vaguely kind of what we observe it, you know, what we observe from it and why we infer that it is there, but we don't really know what this dark matter stuff is. And so in order to kind of, I don't know, share some of the excitement about this and just be able to participate a little bit in all this dark matter thing, I decided to make a video dedicated to the Dark Matter Day and to talk a little bit about a book that I recently read that might be of interest to people who might be interested in the Dark Matter Day. And so in particular, the book that I wanted to mention for this is Neil deGrasse Tyson's book, Astrophysics for People in a Hurry, which is quite a compact little book, which I guess is why it's called For People in a Hurry. And I listened to it as an audiobook, and it was just really nice to have it narrated by Neil deGrasse Tyson himself. And it's such a, I would say, such an accessible book, because it's not only kind of telling the story of the universe, but also kind of giving little anecdotes and kind of really trying to explain it in a way that really makes it fun to listen to. And I wrote down a couple of quotes from the audiobook that I really enjoyed, and one of them was, "The universe is under no obligation to make sense to you." And another one was, "After the laws of physics, everything else is opinion." And so this book covers basically the history of the universe, literally starting with the Big Bang and with the first processes that took place in the very early and very hot and dense universe. It then goes on, you know, through the very first million microseconds and minutes and kind of the very first few moments of the newborn universe, and just kind of shows what the process were like. So it goes into the particle physics of it, you know, talking about different types of matter, different particles that were present in the very early universe, and how through the different, you know, matter and antimatter and how they were annihilating each other, how through a very tiny fraction of more matter we now live in a universe where there is matter, there are stars, there are planets, there are people, there are, you know, all the things we love, like, you know, books are also made of particles. So even though, you know, most of the stuff in the very early universe was annihilating each other, fortunately there was a tiny amount more matter than antimatter, and so that's how we ended up with everything you see. And so one of the things that it mentions obviously is also dark matter, which I guess I should give a brief explanation as to what that is. Dark matter basically was discovered by an astrophysicist called Zwicky, who was looking at his telescope and kind of looking at what these galaxies looked like, how they were moving around. So it was a huge cluster. And what he found was that there must be a lot of mass in that cluster because, you know, from how things are moving, kind of like a pair of dancers, they might be rotating around each other because they're pulling at each other. And so similarly, this huge cluster of galaxy was they were kind of moving around each other in a specific way that was indicating that there was a lot of matter and mass in that cluster of galaxies. However, when he then, you know, looked at how bright these galaxies and the galaxies within this cluster were, he found that actually counting up the stars, if you will, in that cluster was not accounting for all the mass within it. So there must be some matter or some mass thing that was pulling at the other galaxies that wasn't emitting any light. Hence it is dark. And it is matter, which means that it is dark and it has a gravitational pull. And hence where the name came from, you know, dark matter. And so it is a really, really important thing to understand, because actually by doing these measurements, it was seen that about 85%, so a very, very, very large fraction of the universe, is made up of matter that we cannot see. So not things like stars or, you know, even some planets you can see because they're reflecting the light of the stars. So not these luminous objects, but something that was having an equal pull on things, that was having this gravitational attraction, but that wasn't emitting any light. And it's very, very difficult to kind of figure out what that might be and how that might work and what is it, you know. And that's a question that's been, you know, bothering astronomers for decades now. And so it's really, really interesting. And I just love the idea that there is a day to kind of, I don't know, celebrate or be puzzled about dark matter. I'm not quite sure what the purpose is. Is it more to kind of go, oh, we still don't understand it? Or is it actually, you know, this is amazing, there is so much of the universe that we do get, but then there's also this whole other thing that we look at and we have no idea how it works. And I just find it really, really fascinating to be living in a time where there is so much of the universe that we know, and also there's so much that we know that we don't know, and it's kind of this big puzzle of how this all works. And I think I really, really, really enjoyed this book for that, and I would definitely recommend it. If you can, do listen to it as an audiobook narrated by the author himself, and it's just really, really nice. And so I want to also give my husband a quick shout out here, because he actually made a really, I don't know, really ingenious kind of video about the universe and the history of the universe, with kind of wrapping around a little bit. So I'll be linking that there as well. And so yeah, happy Dark Matter Day. Bye everybody.